So guys, here's the build. What do you think? It's not bad, hey? Looks pretty damn good in my opinion. So yeah, this is £150 sort of flip PC that I've built. Sort of gonna be looking for that sort of 225 range, maybe £200 at absolute minimum that I'll sell it on for. So we should be good. And basically what we'll do now is we'll talk through all the parts list and where I got the parts and what have you, and then we'll move on to those gaming benchmarks, so you can kind of get an idea of what this PC is capable of. So yes, before we actually go into that parts list, I have only used an i5 4670K, so it is limited to 4 cores, 4 threads, and in some of the games and what have you, we kind of needed a little bit more power. But certainly, if you want to go up to the i7, that would be better. But again, we're hitting a very, very strict budget here, and £150 really isn't much money to actually create a PC. So I think to actually get a custom PC, with a custom case and all, like totally non-proprietary components, so components which are basically all off the shelf that you can buy from manufacturers rather than like your Dell and what have you, not like an office PC, then I think for £150 you've done really well. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about all the components that we've brought. So I'm just going to keep the PC over this side, so I've got my laptop here, so it's just easier. So for the CPU and CPU cooler, we paid £10 on Facebook Marketplace, and we got an i5 4670K, which is what I said, Intel, which is obviously Intel 4th gen i5, and we got the Intel stock cooler as well thrown in for that. So not bad. It's a decent enough cooler for an i5. Now, if you're going up to i7, you could just about get away with an Intel stock cooler, but you probably would want to actually go with a tower cooler just to make it look a little bit better as well. But again, that's optional. And again, when we're going for a £150 PC, we've got to take the bargains when we can and go with what we've got and what's cheapest. So our motherboard is a Gigabyte GAH81M and then the S2H. So a bit of a weird, motherboards are all kind of a bit weird with random numbers and letters and what have you, aren't they? So, but this is basically a H81 motherboard anyway from Gigabyte. So it's actually, it's a non-proprietary one, so it's not like Dell or anything. So we're using all normal connectors and what have you, like a 24-pin and an 8-pin for our CPU supplementary power and what have you. So it's all good, and it actually looks black as well in the case, so that it's not like green or anything like horrible like that. So we're still keeping a good aesthetic here as well with that motherboard, so that's good. We got that off eBay for £20.48 delivered, which was an absolute steal, I have to admit. That really was a bargain, and I was happy to get that. Then actually as well, with the motherboard actually did come with 4 GB of RAM as well, so we've kind of included that into the price. So that was a little bit of a bonus as well, to get those 4 GB of DDR3. So then what we did is brought an additional 8 GB of DDR3, DDR3 1600 megahertz, that is, or 1600 mega transfers, I think they like to call it nowadays. And we actually paid off eBay £6.87 delivered to our door. So again, for an 8 GB module, £6.87 is really cheap. So I was really happy to get that as well. So obviously we are only running 12 GB rather than probably your more recommended 16 GB for your gaming PC, but we can get away with 12 GB fine, and there's no problems there with sort of mix and matching sticks, especially at DDR3 level. If it was DDR4, I'd be a little bit concerned about mixing and matching, but again, this is such old hardware that DDR3 you can kind of get away with a bit more with mixing and matching, so that's good there. Now for our graphics card, this is where we've kind of spent most of our money, but we have got quite a decent bargain here. We got the ASUS STRIX GTX 960 2 GB version. So I think we've done pretty well here to get that off eBay for £33.26. So just under £34 there is actually really quite a bargain, because this actually looks like a proper decent graphics card as well. The actual styling, and like I say, it's an ASUS STRIX, so obviously that's kind of
going to help out for the selling of this PC, because people will see ASUS STRIX and that kind of relates to gaming and graphics, good graphics cards. So that will help as well. And it's kind of got a back plate even, which is kind of nice, kind of helps the sale. I think that will help the sale a little bit with the back plate. And it just looks the part, doesn't it? It's fairly long, so it kind of fills up the PC, and it's pretty good. So to get that for just under 34 quid, I mean, delivered to my door as well, that's pretty good, a bargain off eBay. I was really happy to get that one. Again, with eBay, I would just make sure that you're looking at auctions and just trying to do as best you can with auctions. But you can get lucky with a buy it now, and you can just offer. What I did with this one, I think it was actually up for about £40, and I just put a cheeky offer in. So yeah, in the end, with delivery on top, I think I bidded £32, and then with the delivery on top, the little extra on top, it just came just under £34. So yeah, I was really happy to get that. Always worth doing a cheeky offer now and again, because you never know when someone's just going to accept a cheeky offer. So that's a bit of advice for you guys, when you're PC flipping. Don't be scared to put in that little cheeky offer, which is a little bit low ball, but you might get away with it, or even if you don't, then you might get a little bit off the price. So I mean, I was happy to pay £35 for this, really, but yeah, anyway, so we got a little bit lower than what we were prepared to pay. Now, storage was an absolute bargain. I don't know what happened with Amazon on this listing, but they seem to have a lightning sale, and it just went for ridiculously cheap. So we got the ORICO, I think that's how you pronounce it. 512 gigabyte SSD, which is a 2.5-inch SSD, and we paid only £16.79, which is an absolute bargain for 512 gigabytes. So yeah, we did really well there, and it's actually in the back here. You probably can't see it, but it's just installed behind the motherboard tray there. So that's pretty good. Also, with this case, this is the well, we'll move on to the case in a little bit, but this is the Vida Lucid case, and I forgot to say, basically in the hard drive, there actually is a hard drive tray here. There actually is a separate hard drive cage. It's just for some reason, because this is a used case that I brought, it didn't come with that. And actually, there was a representative of Vida who actually, reached out to me and has actually talked to me and said about there was actually a cage in there and what have you, and potentially he might actually, be able to. Well, we're in discussion, but we might even be able to get 1 or 2 review samples for future Vida cases. So that could be a really good thing for the channel. So hopefully that might come through, but we'll see what happens there. Going into the future there. But yeah, pretty happy with this case. So yeah, let's just move on to the case before we go to the power supply. This is the Vida Lucid. It's a ARGB case, obviously with the typical tempered glass at the front. It's got the traditional 3 fans at the front, 3 ARGB fans with the one at the back as well, and it looks really good. I'll put up some B-roll here just so you can see that again of the fans. They look really, really good. You can change the fan colors with the reset button here, because that's put onto the fans rather than the actual reset on the actual motherboard, so that's also good as well. And it just looks really good. And to get this on Amazon for only £35 that I paid, and okay, yes, it was a used deal rather than a new deal, rather than a new case, but £35 used for a decent case like this was a real bargain. So I was really happy to pay that, and we've got a really good case here, because you could install a very big graphics card here if you did have that. You can even install quite big CPU tower coolers up to about 160 millimeters as well. So, and you've got obviously the PSU shroud, tempered glass, all that modern look going on. Even the glass at the front here as well, so that's nice. PSU was just a Corsair VS550, which we paid off eBay £25.26, so just under £26 there. Again, delivered to our door, I think that's a real bargain. We don't really need 550 watts, we certainly don't, but I think it's always good to have that little bit extra, isn't it? Because if the user does actually upgrade the graphics card, which is probably something which they probably will do, or they will look at in the future, we've got enough power there to actually power that upgrade for a graphics card. So You could go with a 450 watt here, but I think just going 550 just gives the user a little bit more breathing space as well. So for upgrade, so I think we've made the right choice there. And then basically we've just put like a Wi-Fi adapter in here, which we've paid only £5.24 for. So again, you can get these Wi-Fi adapters off eBay for very cheap now. They're only about £6-7, even like just £5 that I got for mine. So you know, all it is a little USB Wi-Fi like dongle thing that you just stick in, and it gives you Wi-Fi and Bluetooth access to your PC. So it does the job. I mean, you can get the whole PCI bracket or the PCI card, do it that way, but I just find it's a bit more cumbersome, and just getting the actual USB dongle and just sticking it in, I think it's just easier, isn't it, really? And you don't have to buy a motherboard with Wi-Fi and what have you that way as well. So you can buy the cheaper motherboards, which is obviously good. So it works for me, and that's always what I've done. So that's fine. And in total, the whole PC came to £152.90. So yeah, to actually get that for just over the £150 mark, I think this PC really is impressive. You know, and any of you guys out there who can actually build a better spec PC with better looks for £150, I want to see your videos, because I don't think you can beat this. This is pretty much up there for, I think, probably the best spec to price that you could probably get, unless you were going to go for maybe like unless you're going to buy a PC off Facebook Marketplace and you got a real bargain. Obviously, then you might be able to get better spec. But I think actually buying all the parts separately off things like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I've used basically eBay for most of them. It's only Amazon for the case, and then obviously the CPU was a local deal here on Facebook Marketplace. But really, everything else was off eBay. So you know, this sort of PC is buildable. This is repeatable that you could do. It's not like a one-off deal, and then you haven't got that. You can't get that again. This you could build multiple times. This sort of PC. So yeah, really happy to get this for that price. And let's just see what the gaming benchmarks are like now. So again, I've just got them on my laptop here. So now, I will be honest and I will be frank. Fortnite was a bit of a disaster, so we'll move on to Fortnite first of all. 1080p low. Now, it was an average of 92, a minimum of 20, and a maximum of 137. But there is a bit of a problem here. The stutters are just too bad on this game, and with only a 4-core, 4-thread processor, we're really struggling. Now, if you were to pay, because on eBay at the moment, you can buy the i7 4790 for about £25, maybe up to £35, well, maybe up to £30 at very most, I would pay for that i7. So, and if you did obviously get that, you get 4 cores and 8 threads, so you would actually get that little bit extra performance. And it's the CPU side that we're struggling. The GPU, you can clearly see, can give us over 60 FPS at 1080p low. So that's not the problem. It's just the CPU can't keep up. So this is where spending a little bit more on your PC would actually really help here. And maybe if we went up to a budget of £200, we could get that extra CPU. We could maybe upgrade all the way up to 16 gigabytes of RAM as well, and that might just kick us up a little bit more in performance. I was surprised actually. The GTX 960 is actually not bad here. You know, it is actually, especially for a 2 gigabyte graphics card, it's actually still doing all right. I was a bit surprised. So yeah, like I say, just CPU bottleneck there, but it is what it is for Fortnite. Fortnite really isn't it's kind of moved to more of a, you know, you need a bit more of a mid-range sort of PC now for Fortnite. Unfortunately, your very sort of budget end PCs are not going to be able to keep up with Fortnite nowadays because of the modifications and the enhancements that they've made to the engine and the graphics. So it is what it is. GTA 5 at 1080p low was an average of 69, nice, a minimum of 58, and a maximum of 85. Sorry, I'm so immature, but anyway, move on. So yeah, GTA 5 over 60 FPS on 1080p low average. So really good to get that 60 FPS, higher than 60 FPS average at, for GTA 5 at 1080p low. I think that's a real good result here, especially only using a 2 gigabyte VRAM graphics card. The GTX 960 actually isn't actually that bad. Actually, this is actually performing a little bit better than I thought it was going to. I have to admit, especially considering as we have an i5 as well. I was thinking it was really going to be quite bad, but we have got 12 gigabytes of RAM as well, and I think that is helping. I think if we only had the 8 gigabytes of RAM, I think we would be struggling a little bit more here. So having 12 is just giving us that little bit extra headroom as well, so that's fine. So yeah, a really good result with GTA 5 there, and certainly playable in my opinion. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider 1080p low was an average of 51, a minimum of 33, and a maximum of 92. So again, okay, we haven't hit the 60 FPS and above average that we're looking for. We're a little bit below that, but that, you know, it is playable at that 1080p low. It's playable there in the 50s, in my opinion. That's still playable. I mean, technically, anything above sort of 30 FPS, you could say is playable. But I certainly think, you know, if it's only dropping down to into the sort of low 50s, it's kind of okay, you know. And most of the time, it's going to be above 60 during actual gameplay, so it should be fine. But obviously, if you wanted to, you could drop the resolution down a little bit and maybe the graphics quality down a little bit just to give yourself that 60 FPS average at this game. Now we'll move on to obviously the most demanding game, which is Cyberpunk 2077, and this is where the PC does start to really show that it's only a £150 PC, and the performance really does start to suffer here. So we're 1080p low, Cyberpunk 2077, an average of 33, a minimum of 25, and a maximum of 42. Now, actually, to be fair to it, to actually get a plus 30 FPS average at 1080p low is actually not bad from a £150 PC in Cyberpunk 2077, because when that came out in, was it 2020, I think it was, or maybe the end of 2019, I can't quite remember now, but one of those years anyway. I mean, to be fair, that was like a high-end game when it came out. That was like a demanding game for hardware. Now, obviously, over the sort of 5 years or so, we've had quite a lot of patches, so that's really helped to sort of iron out all the bugs and to really get the game running smoothly on more or less all hardware now. So that's really helped us out here. If this game would have been released, you know, like I say, if we were playing this game in 2020 or 2021 with this PC, we'd probably be struggling even further. So, you know, that's helped us out a little bit. And to be fair, you know, if you wanted to, if you had a push, you could probably put Cyberpunk down to 900p low, and then you're probably actually going to get more towards like 50 FPS average or something. So I think actually, you know, to be fair to it, this little PC can actually do Cyberpunk. So I never thought I would actually say that £150 PC can run Cyberpunk, but it can. It's doing it. And even with a 2 gigabyte VRAM graphics card, it is doing it, to be fair to it. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, really for £150, I really can't think of a better PC that you could actually build. And if there is, then, you know, I want someone to actually come on YouTube and actually show me and actually prove me wrong that you can buy components on, you know, eBay and potentially your Facebook Marketplace, and you can build up a PC for only £150 that can beat mine. You know, obviously let me know if you can, and put a video out and let me know as well, because I would you know, I would challenge more or less anyone to try and build a PC better than this for £150, because I don't know if you could, especially with the aesthetics. Now, yes, performance wise you could build better for £150, but I've got the whole aesthetics, the whole flip build and what have you, that kind of, the aesthetics are good, and we're not using a green motherboard, we're using a black motherboard, so it looks good. You know, we're using proper components here, we're using proper stuff here. So, you know, and okay, yes, you have got like ketchup and mustard cables on your PSU and stuff like that, but there are going to have to be cutbacks a little bit with budget PCs, so we can accept that. Not really, you know, you could buy the PSU extensions and pay 20 quid for PSU extensions, and that might help out the aesthetics a little bit, but what's the point really for such a cheap PC to actually spend that extra £20 just to get those little extra things which aren't really going to help performance at all? So personally, I do think, like I say, we've done really well here. really happy with the case, really happy with how the builds come out. Yeah, and I think we'll certainly sell this for £225 comfortably. If not, certainly £200. That'll be the absolute minimum I'll take for it, and we'll certainly get that for it. Because if I can't sell this PC for £200, then I really will give up with PC flipping, because I would have had enough by then. Because this is easy, a £200 PC, easy. So yeah, we should be fine here. So please like the video if you did like this little different video. We've kind of changed it up a little bit from just looking at the cases that we were doing just before. So some of those videos did go on a bit long. So hopefully this hasn't gone on too long. And you guys have enjoyed this one, kind of going back to our roots of this channel, which is PC flipping. And hopefully, yeah, like I say, you did like this. Please comment on what you think, and if you can build a better PC, and you know, what you think of the build, and if there's any improvements you could suggest to make, that we could get for that we could still make improvements even for £150 PC, if you can think of any, but I can't really. And yeah, please subscribe to see my future videos, and as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.